A movie about a giant killer spider? As someone with arachnophobia, I'm sure this will be an easy watch. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Production, and today I'm going to give you my review of Sting. But before we get started, you know exactly what to do. At the end of the video, if I've earned it, please leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss any of my new reviews. Now let's get into it. Directed by Kaya Roach Turner, Sting centers around a family in a small Brooklyn apartment. Young preteen Charlotte, played by Alila Brown, her mom Heather, played by Penelope Mitchell, Heather's new husband and Charlotte's new stepdad, Ethan, played by Ryan Kaur, and their baby. Charlotte feels very isolated after her parents' divorce, and despite co-creating a comic book together, Ethan is struggling to connect with her, which really isn't helped by the fact that Heather's constantly nagging at him and they're just distracted by their baby. But that all changes when a mysterious egg drops from space into their apartment and unleashes a weird, very smart spider that Charlotte decides to keep as a pet, whom she names Sting. As she keeps feeding and bonding with her new mysterious secret pet, Sting begins growing, and he keeps growing to a monstrous size. Then the neighbor's pets start to go missing, and then the neighbors themselves start to go missing. And now that Sting has a taste for human flesh, Charlotte has to put that bond with him aside and end it once and for all. I'll start by saying this. Don't go into this movie expecting the next horror masterpiece. It's essentially a modern B-movie creature feature with all the camp, gore, and jump scares that you'd expect from a movie like this. The character stuff is alright, I guess. It's there, at least. Charlotte is a fine, sympathetic main character, and it helps that she has a creative flair with the whole comic book thing, but for a lot of the movie, she's just kind of there hanging out, talking to the spider or arguing with her parents, which got a little annoying after a while. Although there's one scene involving her arguing with her stepdad that ends in Charlotte crying and running out of the room that I thought was actually done pretty well, and Alila Brown pulls off that emotion. Thankfully, when it comes time to fight the giant spider in the last act, Charlotte gains a lot more agency and becomes a more interesting character, and I thought she played off Ethan's character very well in those climactic scenes. Speaking of Ethan, Ryan Kaur definitely holds his own here, but this is another case where the writing is just kind of one note for that character. He's the maintenance guy of the apartment building that they live in by day and the comic co-creator by night, but outside of these things, there's really not much to him. He spends most of the movie either confused or angry, especially when it comes to any interaction he has with his wife Heather, who is easily the worst character here, but I'll get to her in a second. Overall, just like Charlotte, Ethan is a fine, although kind of one-note character, although, again, like Charlotte, gets a lot to do in the last act that redeems the character quite a bit. Penelope Mitchell does a fine enough job with her material as Heather, but this character just sucks. All she really does is bitch at Ethan and nag him throughout the entire movie, and that's literally it. It's very hard to find anything to connect with Heather's character. The rest of the characters, including Heather's horrible mother and her dementia-ridden roommate, as well as a comic relief exterminator, are barely a presence here aside from just adding to the body count, so I'm not even really going to bring them up. The true star here, however, is Sting the Spider.
We're gonna call you Sting.
I mentioned earlier how this film feels like a modern B-movie creature feature, and it works the best when it fully leans into that. We have no idea where the spider came from or what its deal is, but when it starts f***ing things up, this movie gets so entertaining. And that's coming from an arachnophobe, like I said in the beginning of the video. Yeah, I'm a total pussy when it comes to spiders. I have Victoria handle them. It's not a totally paralyzing thing for me though. I mostly just look away whenever one pops up on screen and leave the room if I see one. I don't scream and run down the hallway or anything. But if you're someone that will have a full-on panic attack just from seeing a spider, I would definitely skip this movie. But for me, for some reason, the CGI on the spider, which is very good, don't get me wrong, and how smart and sentient it acts throughout the whole movie, kind of helped my brain to not really associate it as a real spider. And after adjusting with the first few times it's on screen, it really didn't bother me all that much, which is fantastic because I was able to fully watch when Sting decides to go on a murderous rampage. The things this spider does to people, it's completely ridiculous and campy, and I loved every second of it. Plus, you know, the fact that it grows to the size of a German Shepherd, but if you're from Australia, you're probably used to that. Anyway, this movie really comes alive when Sting is being evil, creepy, and murderous, and with each new scene that showcases that, I was drawn more and more into the insanity that this movie is building to. And by the exciting third act that I mentioned earlier, I had fully bought into this giant killer spider movie, and I walked out with a smile on my face. Especially after those credit scenes. Overall, this is a movie that works best when it's fully diving headfirst into its B-movie creature feature roots and allowing its monstrous giant CGI spider to wreak havoc, though it stumbles and slows to a near crawl whenever it's just dealing with characters and story. So I don't know if I would recommend rushing out to see it, maybe see it in a matinee or just wait for it to come on streaming, and I don't think you'll be disappointed if you do that. And that's my review of Sting. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this review, you know exactly what to do. I said it earlier. Please leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss any of my new content. While you're at it, you can scroll down to the description below, find the links to my socials, leave a comment, let me know if you saw the movie and what you thought, and if you want more of my content, you can click or tap on these cards right here. Let's They'll take you to my 100th review, Civil War, or just over to my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time for my review of Radio Silence's newest horror comedy, Abigail.